Bienvenidos
See if I can
al
chat on.
Bitcoin Liberty Live, episode 44. We're
Hello,
back.
everybody. Let's see where this goes out to.
You can
Oops.
chat now. Oh, I see them all. Do you
Only
can when you
Rumble Studio. It's only going to Rumble Studio.
click the drop down and click all
There is no drop down, sir.
on the messaging thing?
I have an arrow, and it says message/private. That's it. Oops.
Well,
So
I
if someone
promoted you to co-facilitator thing, so I don't know. Maybe it's because I created it, or it's you're limited to the platform on which you entered. But for me, I can I can comment on Twitch. I
oh,
don't know. That's weird.
I don't think we ever get any Twitch viewers.
There's a bot I think that hops on after we're on for a bit, and I don't know what it is, but it's on the whole time. And then when we close out, Twitch sends me an email saying,
You had one
"Give
viewer.
me some stat." So maybe it's their stat bot. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
what a week, huh?
it's funny. Funny. I kind of like
Funny haha or funny computer.
grappling with the volatility, if you will. Bitcoin dropped a chunk one day, and so I bought.
Oh, nice.
And then I woke up the next morning and it had dropped more. And I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going down. So I scrounged and thought about things and I bought some more.
Yeah.
It dropped some more. And then I was like, I am out of dry powder now. And so I'm
Yeah.
like thinking, anyway, so I had done a little side job for a guy and I got paid midday Friday. So I had a little more and I was going to buy some more when it was like high 70s.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I got a little more. It's for me. I'm going to buy a little more and I'm catching the bottom. My bank is going through a merger this weekend and it started like at noon on Friday. I get in, so I get paid in a check. I get the check, I go online, I'm going to do a quick like get it in and convert it from fiat. I can't get online. The bank's closed till Tuesday morning and I'm looking at it like, and it's the only bank I really use.
Right.
And so I'm like, I seriously have to wait till Tuesday to deposit this check. Damn it. And then as I watched the price break past 80 and now it's 85, and I'm like, God dang it. I wanted to catch 78.
Well,
I
what I
didn't.
would say is, if just going by my trading strategy here, looking at it, I would not be buying this dip at all. Like I wouldn't even be close to buying this dip unless there's like some sort of like super sharp V-shaped recovery on this. Like this thing is down only as far as I'm concerned. But right now, like if you look at the weekly chart, I know you can't see it.
You
I'm
want to
just
show it?
oh yeah, I'll share it. What the hell? So we'll do some chart magic, and I'll be that guy. I'll be the
You can
chart
you
king.
can you can
It
show
might go up,
me.
it might go down, but here's where it is. That's what I'll do. So as you can see here, there's my little indicator thing. This is the weekly index chart. And what you can see is this is still above the 50 line on the weekly. So there's still a possibility of a good strong bounce here based on that sort of metric. And these lines haven't quite crossed yet on the weekly. Like let's zoom in on it a little bit so we can actually see what these little buggers look like. But oh, they did just cross. So this week, depending on where this week closes tomorrow, if these lines cross, that's a very bearish signal, right? And if it's crossing on the weekly, that's kind of problematic. But you can look at the longer term moving averages, and this is kind of illustrative as well. Everything's still on the up and up in terms of this, but as you can see, this RSI is getting down close to the midpoint again. Once that crosses below the midpoint, that's usually not great. Like you can see little dips here
Mhm.
that didn't result in too much, and they kind of came right back. But as you can see, as it starts getting towards this 50 line dipping under, you can see this is like a sell signal for me if I were still trading on the weekly. Like I would have had I still been dipping in and out, I would have bought in right here on this candle, which would have got a 29,000 entry, and then I would have closed on the close of that candle, which would have been 62. I would have purchased again right here at 68, and if I were still following this strategy, which I'm not. I'd be closing. I'd be wherever this candle closes. I'd be selling right now. So be selling in the 80s somewhere like that. So that's sort of the crux of my little trading strategy. If you're doing it on a weekly time frame, but on a longer time frame, as you can see, like it's been pretty choppy, obviously, right? But there haven't like the last good buying opportunity I would say was probably right here ish. So probably around 63. And then nowhere in here would I have purchased from 63 up. So I'm just kind of sitting on my hands right now. And as you can see, this thing is postured hard down. Like that is almost a mirror image. Like if you flip this chart over, if you did it on an invert scale, you go, oh my God, that thing is about to go to the moon, right? Like if you're just looking at this chart and it was not inverted, you go, oh my God, this is a great time to buy. This thing is about to go parabolic.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, this is the inverse of that. So just like if you were looking at this upside down, you'd go, hey, this is a great time to buy. It's going to go parabolic. Right now, it looks like a very good time to go, oh, I shouldn't be in this market. I should be sitting on my hands because heaven only knows where this goes. But the next line of support is 68,000. I
Hmm.
mean, this is all vapor right here. This is all price discovery. There's nothing in there. You see what I'm saying? So the next, if you go by any sort of historical price averages, and there is actually research that supports these support lines, support and resistance lines like this
Hmm.
at peaks of price and drops. And they're averages. They're not. It's not precise or anything like that. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see us dip to 60s, like the high 60s, maybe even below. If it dips below this, and you've got a long way down to 40 below that, 40, 45. So there's a lot of room to wiggle around here, and like
Yeah.
uh, like I've said, Bitcoin is the world leading expert in kicking gamblers in the dick. So
Yeah.
anyway,
And when I just have discarded my thought process about ever selling, it's largely just looking, like they say, by the dip.
yeah.
Uh, I thought I'd bought the dip, and then I thought I bought another dip, and then it went down, and I got dry powder after the banks had closed, and I can't deposit this damn check because of this merger my bank's going through. So I'm sitting on dry powder now, where it's like, okay, I
Well,
guess I
that
can.
might actually work out in your favor, man.
Yeah, I'll just sit and wait, and like we'll see. The bank opens again on Tuesday when I can supposedly deposit. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
waiting.
this is what I'll do for you, sir. I'm sitting on a little powder myself, but I would never buy any. Like people saying, "Hey, I saw someone tweet said, hey, hit me if you bought this dip. You're a legend." Blah blah blah. I'm like, well, I don't know. I think I'm gonna wait on that dip a little while longer.
I looked at yeah. When you look back at tweets that are well, with this pace of volatility, they get stale in a day or two. And I'd see a post from 2 days ago where it's like, "Who bought the dip at 80? High 80s?"
Yeah.
And it's
Oops.
like, "Oh, that's
Oops.
didn't live long." But
Yeah. Well, I'm anticipating just for the time being, there's probably going to, I mean, obviously some volatility in the markets and, the stuff going on in Ukraine and blah, 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 blah. I mean, there's just like endless sort of uncertainty right now. So, given that, I'm just sitting on my hands. Like, I'm just going to wait and wait and wait. And, I mean, for me, like, if it shot all the way back to 16, I would just be like dancing in the streets. I would be going absolutely batshit crazy. Like, and it feels like the tone I see on Twitter, like I don't even realize the price has moved until I go onto Twitter and I look and people are like, oh my God, Bitcoin's crashing. And then all the fudders come out and then all the, I mean, it's just like bizarre. It's bizarro world to me, but it would be kind of like watching the real estate market, like, and
mhm.
just going, oh my God, should I sell my house now? Oh, I should buy another house. I mean, it's just like, it's madness, right? So just,
Very short term thinking.
yeah,
And it's easy I mean, it's easy to get sucked into that when you've gained or benefited in the past during a bull market. But I have to remind myself, like, I can't help but check the price sometimes just out of curiosity. But I have to slow myself down and say, it don't matter. I'm just kind of curious all the time. But yeah, pacing myself.
yeah. Well, what I'll do for you, sir, is I will send you a text as soon as I'm about to buy, and I'll say, "Hey, I'm buying right now, so maybe consider it." I don't know. You maybe
Let you
have some
see
dry
the
powder
lines
for that one.
cross.
Yeah,
Cool.
when I get my little, when we get above the RSI 50, the midpoint, and I can
Cool.
see, the buying trend is back on the up and up, and I'll probably purchase then. But right now, this whole chart just looks like a disaster to me, dude. Like I don't know why anybody would, like we've got a lower high and then lower lows, and so that I mean, just basic market structure tells you that this is not a good time to buy. So
Well, and MicroStrategy, they bought another 20,000 Bitcoin, like 2 billion Bitcoin.
yeah,
Uh, so posts that strategy is buying this much and the price is going down. Like what in the hell? It's controlled. It's co-opted. It's yeah. It's OTC stuff and lettuce hands from all the aping uh, meme coin crap. But
yeah,
the Bitcoin's hash rate is still growing, growing, growing. Bitcoin's proportion of market cap compared to the whole space has bounced back above like 61%. It's Bitcoin is the home base for all roads.
yeah, oh
So
yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Bitcoin remains even as the everything crashes and you know there's hate and angst all across the board. Okay, yeah, Bitcoin's experienced some of that as well, but it's still safe.
Well, what's funny is if you look at Bitcoin market cap minus stable coins, because you're right, the Bitcoin dominance right now is floating around 61% or something like that. But that factors in stable coins too, right? And stable coins don't really represent the crypto quote unquote market. I mean, it's on chain dollars, but they're just dollars. It's just fiat. But if you look at the Bitcoin market, like dominance minus ETH, USDT, USDC, DAI, BUSD, all the kind of crap, whatever, like it's closer to 65%, So it is, all Bitcoin all the time. And what's Johnny say here? Great thing about Bitcoin is if you wait long enough, even your worst buys will turn into profits. Absolutely right. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just stay humble, stack sats. It's easy to do.
I'll get people that are really kind of fetish critical about Bitcoin generally, and like, oh, see, it drops down a bit. Like, oh, how's your Bitcoin? You're all in, right? And I'm like, get back to me in a year.
Yeah, get
Like,
back to me in a decade
yeah,
when you're
you
standing
told
at
me this last year. How's it going for you? So now it dips a bit. They're like, oh, well, now how's it going? I'm like, get back to me in like a year.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, I mean,
then yeah,
anybody, that is coming up saying this kind of stuff, I'm like, I bought this stuff at 16 grand, dude. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, man.
right. How's
How,
your Bitcoin doing? It's like, well, I got in at 16K. I wrote it up. I wrote it down. I wrote it up higher. I wrote it down at a higher low. I'm fine. How are you? How's your Nvidia?
well, that's what I was gonna say. Is like you should look at the Nvidia chart right now because it's not looking pretty either, man. Like that thing hit a sharp peak. So
Do you have that up?
I do. I'm kind of taking a peek at it. I can share it if you want, but as you can see, where is it? Oh, there you are. So yeah, I mean, this is the Nvidia chart, but as you can see, we've got a high right here, low, a lower low, there's a low, there's a lower low, there's a lower high. That is basic market structure 101. And things postured down, it's below the 50 here. That's just like that, it's and Nvidia is basically vapor, right? So that's got a long, long, long way to go. I mean, this thing can just absolutely get hammered from here. But you know,
Well, and it's so reliant on other forces that are not there's some long-term demand, obviously, business model wise, there's some solid foundation, but it runs at the whims of certain politics and macro effects, and you hope things about politics or AI needs or whatever, or the CEO not losing their damn mind.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean, there's the thing that no one talks about with Nvidia, which always sort of surprises me, especially the super fanboys of Nvidia. Or like if you look at their vendor financing model, man, like a lot of that profit that they're making is all debt, and that's presuming that all the people they're vendor financing don't go, bankrupt. And if you just take as a given that 90% of tech startups fail, that means 90% of their vendor financing is going to be insolvent debt. And so it's great that they're shipping a bunch of chips to people that are giving them, IOUs, but saying that's part and then including it in your bottom line, going, look how great we're doing. But like if I said to you, hey Fritz, I'll give you 1 million useless widgets on credit, and you go, yeah, I'll pay you $10 million for your useless widgets, and then you go out of business, like all those sales that I've booked on my ledger are vapor, right? They end up being nothing. So provided that all of Nvidia's vendor financed sales stay solvent, which is effectively zero, then yes, Nvidia's got a valuation that's going up for the right reasons. But yeah, the the vendor financing thing is something I think if people are astute, careful investors in Nvidia, they should absolutely be looking at those disclosures. They should be reading those prospectuses a lot closer, and if they do, they'll start seeing things like, hey, oh, what's this vendor financing all about? Oh, that doesn't look so great. Like I would never buy even a fraction of a share of Nvidia right now, just based on that model. But I know a
Yeah.
lot of people buy the hype, and they buy the narrative, but that's the whole nature of investing these days. It's all memes and narratives and nonsense. There's no fundamentals behind any of this shit.
Yeah, and even if you're solid on the market investment fundamentals piece, Johnny points out a good point about the system is a wreck, or the criminality and the nature of the central banking system. People can criticize maybe some investment market strategy, time frame, whatever, and I'm like, all of that is in this central banking dollar thing that at a very much deeper side level, Bitcoin is the solution to a much broader system. And for me, fundamentally, it's hard to translate to some people when they're viewing it from a little certain tunnel. But to me, it's like you want to get into the banking system, the money system, like all of that for me is a problem that for them, I could be talking about going to Mars and they'd be like, oh, okay, well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
At least
Did you see the game on Sunday? Yeah.
the dollar's got the backing of um, what?
Yeah.
Gold, right? Or no, the proof of war.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Four.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, proof of war. How about not? What's the ethical money or the least unethical money?
Yeah.
Uh, Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin's the ethical escape for me in a way. So
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's once you have Bitcoin, you kind of, like I said, I've been sort of checked out on all of this stuff. Like, I see it, I kind of watch people freaking out, and it's like watching those, little things parade around on Twitter or whatever. It's just like, what are you guys talking about, man? Like, oh my God, Bitcoin's crashing, or Bitcoin's this, or stay humble, or buy the dip and this. And I'm just like, just fucking stack some sats and shut up. Like, who cares, dude? Like, don't worry about this stuff. If you're really worried about it, it means you don't really buy the thesis. If you don't buy the thesis, it means you don't understand what's going on in the world. So
yeah.
you understand what's going on in the world, and you kind of look around and you go, well, if you're going to hedge and you're going to look and you're going to say, well, we're in a fiat system. Fiat systems are like inherently broken. Like they cannot function indefinitely. They will collapse. They have to collapse. There's no other way. You can't just continually spend more than you make and have all of the proceeds of that flow upwards without something breaking. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
work, dude. And so if you look at that and you can accept that, then you go, well, the only other option we have are things like gold, which is fraught with the same problems, or Bitcoin. So which do you pick? You go, well, I pick Bitcoin. And yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, who knows? Maybe an asteroid's going to hit, or maybe this, or maybe that. But like, it's all just, they're all nonsense arguments at the end of the day. Either you're in on the asset, it makes sense to you, and you just go, okay, yeah, this is the way I'm going, and this is what I'm going to put my energy and focus into. Or you kind of keep trying to waffle and be in fiat land and be a little bit in Bitcoin and be a little bit in Nvidia and then MicroStrategy and all this other shit. But it's all fiat, chasing fiat nonsense.
Hmm.
just own the pristine property and just sit back. It's like if you had a great house on a beachfront somewhere, like you wouldn't be scrambling around trying to figure out if you can buy some slumlord piece of shit house in the middle of nowhere. You'd just be happy in your house, right? So I'm
Yeah.
pretty happy in my Bitcoin house.
You don't have to hustle and work that hard to worry about your money. Just like part of my staying humble is hone your craft and stack. Just don't worry about it. Hone your craft, be productive, stack.
Yeah.
And uh, and then out of my sheer curiosity and interest, I will check and follow and read and learn. But I've learned to alleviate worry about, well, what if that? What if this? Bitcoin will be fine. Well, then what if an asteroid hits? What if the grid all goes down? Well, then we're not really having this conversation at all. That's another,
Yeah, like
like,
you're on
money is not money.
next level like problems.
Yeah, like, well, okay, yeah, there's that. And going back to where we're at in reality, yeah, not worried about it. Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Well, I mean, like if you're talking like asteroid hits and it's a, extinction level event, you go, well, you're gonna be worried. Like, what are you really gonna be focused on at that point in time? Like, I don't think it's gonna be like, oh my god, my 401k, right? Oh my god, like it's things like that. I think I don't think the human mind can truly appreciate what that might really look like. And for most Americans, I mean, what is it, 60, 70% of Americans, they can barely walk around the block. So, I don't know why. I watch a lot of gun videos and stuff like that on YouTube. And there's always these guys that are talking about, oh, they're tactical this and they got their little things and they're prepared for this and I'm like, all that stuff is hypervigilance, right? Like I look at it and I go, you are in a hypervigilant state, which is one of the more clear, telltale signs of post-traumatic stress disorder, right? And so I think there's just like a lot of people that got beat up by their dads and they got beat up in high school and now they're just like super, like they've got John Wick in the back of their head and they're preparing for these things. I'm like, do you work in a liquor store in a bad part of town? Because if you work in a liquor store in a bad part of town, you should probably learn how to get tactical with your gun and be able to respond to a emerging threat right in front of you, right?
right.
These guys like practicing their like belly band draws and all this kind of stuff. I'm just like, you guys, what are you preparing for? Like.
Well, when you're getting your insure at Fred Meyer, you got to be ready.
Yeah,
Um, I there's a psychologically, it's like when there's a general threat. I think under the fiat system, we get used to this kind of, like I talk about, the Stockholm syndrome of sort of being feeling like the ground's slippery and you're slipping, or that there's calamity on the horizon. The headlines are bad. Uh, get ready for the long emergency, the next big emergency. It's coming, folks. Walking Dead, whatever.
yeah,
Um, the response to that, you hear about fight or flight.
right.
Well, there's nothing to do there. There's nowhere you're running to. There's nothing you're fighting. So meanwhile, you're um,
You're just stewing.
stewing away on fight or flight.
Yeah,
There's another what other people go to, victims of, say, domestic violence, go through this, where people who survive, say, a domestic violence type situation or an ongoing social pressure situation,
right.
in lieu of fight or flight, most people tend. It's called tending. So tending is like, oh shit, stuff's going on. I'm gonna do the dishes. I'm gonna vacuum. I'm gonna
Right.
clean the house. People get OCD and ADHD because they're under this stress and pressure. But the outlet to survive is to tend to something.
Right.
And part of the Armageddon fetish that people get is a kind of tending. It's like, well, I think I got all the ammo and guns I could ever really need or use, or I've got food storage for years, but I'm gonna get more.
Right.
Uh,
I'm gonna get more prepared. Yeah.
Which is not wrong. It's just something to do, but is it going to really save your life when you're out of your um, medication, or your
You don't have
diabetes is kicking
CPAP.
in?
Yeah.
Uh,
You're all out of insulin. Yeah, or your high blood pressure medication is run out, or yeah, like
so exercise is a. I mean, I'll say diet and exercise; those are core fundamental things to help maintain.
yeah,
Like doing your burpees, mindful of your food, all that is fundamentally biologically also good, and it's
yeah,
something to do. So and it contributes to, if you have that need to be tending in lieu of fight or flight, that's a healthy thing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
tend to your physical condition. Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
So I've actually been trying to work out a little bit more lately, and not that I eat great all the time, but just mindful of certain food choices when they arise. And mental health wise, it's good.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
it's
and
huge.
with the weather around here, finally, it's we had a day in the 60 degrees yesterday,
Ooh,
and I just had this like coming like instead of like eating off your winter stores for a while, and then suddenly you're like, I could plant a garden. The mental shift going into spring, it's like, thank you. I'm
yeah,
starting to feel like I can
like
look ahead towards weather.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean that it's there's seasonality to all human beings, and I mean, but to your point, yeah, like taking care of your physical abilities, and like not carrying around an extra 50 pounds of weight, and not being like if you can't touch your toes, and you can't walk more than a mile, and you can't run up a flight of stairs, like I say this without judgment to the people that are running around like practicing their belly band draws and all their crazy appendix carry shit and tactical reloads and whatever. I mean, I was that guy 100%, like, but I was, in my 30s at the time. And I went and trained a truck ton on shooting, right? Like I went for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks training on this stuff. And, something to the tune of three or 400 hours worth of formal training and then thousands and thousands of hours of practicing in the background, right? And what I remember most from those shooting schools and stuff was like there would be these guys that were, 275 pounds, just wheezing, dude. I mean, like, and it's out in desert conditions, and this is work. These are 40-hour courses that I was taking, and you're out there trudging around, and you're getting up and down, and you're moving around, and these guys just could not handle even that. And I'm like, you've got a tent right there that's got like ice water and a little sandwich bag, and I mean, like, all your creature comforts are just sitting right there. Like, what do you think is going to happen when all that goes away and you're looking like you are right now, like you're huffing and puffing, you can't breathe? Like, and so the thing I would share with people then was like, look, man, when you join the military, they don't put a gun in your hand and teach you how to shoot first. They get you in shape, So maybe tackle your physical condition before you start worrying about fighting the next civil war or fighting zombies or whatever it is. Like, make sure your physicality is in line. Like, can you
Yeah.
touch your toes? That's a big deal. Can you can you jump off of something without breaking your knee or throwing your hip out, or
Hmm.
can you move your arms in a certain way? I mean, like, all that kind of stuff I think should be focused more on. But you know
Yeah.
like,
I've
it's
been
been
trying
my
to.
experience, like, anytime there's ever been any sort of like violent encounter or something like that never happened to me ever in my life where I was walking along going, I'm having a great day. I'm super alert. I'm well rested. I'm warmed up. I'm nice and stretched. I'm ready to go. It's like, it's always something. It's like, I've got the flu. I left all my important shit behind. I've got 43,000 other things in my hand, in my mind. My foot hurts like crazy because I, fell off the lawnmower or whatever it is. And then something happens, right? It's never like when you're ready. It's always when you're just like, everything is you're having the worst possible day ever and everything's going wrong and everything with your body is going wrong. That's when you're going to have your problem. So
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I guess we're kind of drifting off the Bitcoin topic here, but still.
Yeah, staying humble, honing your craft, stacking sats, and so then even if my work is uh, my day to day, week by week job can be a grind. I can Bitcoin's like that escape hatch mentally where it's like, okay, I'm not stuck if I know that I'm maintaining a longer time preference, and for the sake of family, I'm being just responsible. even as I even as I hone my craft, uh, extracurricular wise, and imagine a different future, or if things change, I'm just kind of ready for it. So preparation, or what is it? Luck is where preparation meets opportunity,
Yeah.
and so it's like I'm just kind of staying healthy and being ready, and then if and when things change, I can maneuver, and I'm ready for it instead of just like, oh, change is hard, or what now, or I had a plan but I'm not ready or healthy, whatever. Anyway,
Hey. Hey, what's up, Steven? Welcome, man. Good to
yeah,
see you.
welcome, Stephen.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of at the end of the day, that's all we really have control over, right? But
Yeah,
I think, sort of like I've said probably 10,000 times, it's ad nauseum now that, once I sort of went full on Bitcoin, like full on Bitcoin standard, everything, everything is focused around and towards Bitcoin. Like the improvements in my life have been absolutely dramatic, and
it's a huge mental shift, and for me, the biggest one that is still hard to do proof of work on is a time preference thing.
yeah, for sure, man. Well, I mean, and now that I've left the fiat mines, like I feel like that's sort of accelerating, because that like having a foot in both worlds, but it's the Jeff Booth thing, right? Like where are you putting your attention? Where are you putting your focus? I think he told you that in person,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah,
where are you
he
focusing your energy?
yeah, and if you're doing some now, can you do a little more? And if you're doing that, can you do a little more? And that, it's life is work and effort, but as you invest in yourself and invest in your craft, you're always kind of prepping or imagining what's kind of the next step without being like, I'm going to look like super fit man. It's more like I'm going to start simple. And if I can do 10 burpees, good. And then if in a couple weeks I can do 20, good. And you just do what you can at your level. And if you're doing that, can you do a little more? But don't psych yourself out about it. It's just enjoy the ride. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm all about habit and practice, and like and I think what your point is great, man. Like if you are legitimately going like I really need to make a change in my life. I need to do this, I need to do that. And you see it every new year, right? Like everyone goes, "That's it. I'm done. I'm done being fat. I'm done feeling like shit. I'm tired of my wife wanting to bang the bag boy instead of me," and whatever it is, whatever's motivating you behind the scenes, they all run down to the gym, and the first thing they do is they go, "Yeah, give me the hour and a half long super whatever CrossFit ding dong goddamn." I mean, like they just go batshit crazy, and I always look at that like, man, you're just setting yourself up for failure, like 100%, because if you sort of rewind and you look and you go, what did I do the last year? Well, I sat at my desk, I ate a bunch of fucking donuts, I went to meetings, I sat at my meeting table, and then I went back and ate some more donuts, and then I did this. But you're not doing any physical activity. And there's actually there's a physiological reason behind what I'm about to say, which is your muscles have excellent blood flow. Like you can get all kinds of blood flow to your muscles. They are built for blood flow, they're made for blood flow, they're great. Your joints are not. And so the problem is if you have atrophied joints and you have joints that are stiff and getting that synovial fluid moving is tough, right? And getting the blood flow to those joints so they can strengthen, super tough. So if you jump into some like crazy workout, not only are you setting yourself up for failure because you're not habituated to that activity, but you're also setting yourself up for like injuries and things like that. And especially if you're, our age and getting up there, where if you've been sitting at a desk for 20 years and the only time you've been active was like, well, I played company softball one week, at the company picnic, and oh yeah, that's when I blew out my knee that weekend, like, but that's your only like serious sort of physical activity. You need to habituate your joints before you can start building your musculature.
hmm.
So doing these habitual exercises, like you go, I'm just going to do 10 burpees this week. I go, or 10 burpees 3 times this week. You go, that's great. Just do that. Just focus on that. And they go, oh, I'm not getting a big workout. And I go, yeah, but you're not getting a big workout anyway. But what you are doing is building that habit because and my sort of thesis is like find the bare minimum thing you can guarantee that you're going to do every single week on a fixed schedule, right? So if you go, I want to exercise at least 3 days a week, my suggestion is always, okay, find 2 to 3 minutes of exercise and schedule it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I do 3 minutes of exercise, period. Especially if you're not doing any, right? And just go about 3 weeks just doing 3 minutes of exercise 3 days a week. And what that'll do is it'll get you primed. It'll get not only it'll help get your joints moving and get the blood flow to the joints and help strengthen that, but it also will give you that opportunity to build the habit. So it's more like brushing your teeth. So when you get to that day where it's like, oh God, I, I had to work late today and my wife's griping at me and the kids are being a pain in the ass and I'm tired and oh shit, I forgot to work out. Like the thing where you go, okay, doesn't matter. I'm going to go do it anyway. And that's where
Hmm.
you need to get before you start trying to do like a 20-minute workout or 30-minute workout or 40 or 50 or an hour, et cetera.
Yeah, like instead of having that defined goal in mind that you're just trying to get there, build a system that you can sustain. So it's sort of like, get off zero, but stay humble. I'll be like, man, I want a whole coin or another whole coin or whatever, and I'll never get there. It's like, what can you do?
Right.
If it's 10 burpees Monday, Wednesday, Friday, do that. If
Yeah.
it's 1,000 sats once a week or once a month,
Do
just
that.
do that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just so instead of like, I want to get really buff. Well, it's like, well, your joints may not catch up to you. Or, like you said, there's some metaphors from personal health, personal mindset,
Right.
Bitcoin.
But it all translates. It
It
all,
all translates.
yeah, straight through.
It's
Yeah,
system
I'm
and
with you,
time frame.
Steven. Like I'm the same way, man. But like they say, movement is medicine, so you got to train, right?
Motion is lotion for the joints.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
uh,
you're right, Fritz. I mean, like you're spot on, dude. Like all these things, they're all sort of life lessons, like people people tend to overly fixate on end goals and they under fixate on process, right?
mhm.
Like how can you achieve that goal? And I think the most illuminating personal anecdote I have for that was like I was a screenwriter. I was working on screenwriting for a long time when I lived in LA, and actually optioned a screenplay back in the day. And but I decided, you know what? I think I want to produce films, like a little indie film producer or something like that. And I went to set up my little movie set. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never run a camera before. I'd never run lights before. I'd never set up anything like this. And I literally unpacked these lights and I was just sitting there and I had like 30 people showing up the next day and I was kind of by myself just going like, what have I done here? Like this is going to be a disaster. And I mean, I was like on the verge of tears. I think I did break down crying. Like, I can't fucking do this. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I just fucked up big time. Right.
What next, director, producer?
Yeah. And like all this shit was happening, it's like probably 10 o'clock at night, nothing set up correctly. I don't know, and I remember just sitting there like in this funk and just like this self-imposed, like, in, like incapacity. And I just looked and said, dude, that's a light. It's not you're not trying to fire up the space shuttle. It's a light. Plug it in, turn it on, see what happens, and it was just that literally that one simple little like boop. See you, Steven. Have a great day, man. But it was just that one little step, and then the next step and the next step and the next step. And I was like,
Yeah.
and I got through it. The movie didn't come out very good, but it got done. But
Hmm.
it's the same thing, like you said. If you want to get to a Bitcoin and you've got find ways to do that. Like find some way to trim a little. Like you can not get two lattes this week, and get yourself $10 worth of Sats. I mean, and if you think, well, I'm going to 100x my $10 worth of Sats at some point in the future, well, that's a pretty good deal, right? So sacrifice two lattes, but it's not hard to get into that habit at that point, right? You can set that habit and go, and start looking at things differently and start pricing things in Sats and start thinking about like, hey, man, this is 5,000 Sats, this is 10,000 Sats, this is 20,000 Sats, and if you do like I do, which is the little mental trick of like, well, I convert all those to dollars. I go, it's a
I
Sat to
do.
dollar equivalent, right? You go,
I
oh,
imagine these being dollars, and I'm
you're
like,
right, yeah. Do I want to
yeah.
spend that 250 Sats on this coffee right now? You go, that doesn't sound great.
I've been when I'm on Noster and I'll zap people or I'll get zaps and I mean, so like Travis had mentioned to us, Noster has quite a large circular economy going on with sat zapping, which is cool, value for value, all that's really cool. And then every once in a while, I'll zap or I'll get zapped, and when I convert it to dollars, and I imagine down the road how crazy all this will sound,
Yeah.
it's like, man,
I
this
gave
is
someone
nuts.
$420 because they posted a meme of a cat that was doing something funny. Yeah.
And for me, it doesn't really matter because it's fairly circular, and I'm not big in that space. But like, I'll give a little more than I get, but I get a little, I give a little. And if I imagine someday I look back on that, telling the grandkids we used to send each other like hundreds of sats for a meme, they'll be like, "What?"
Are you crazy?
But
Yeah.
hey, I right now it's kind of relative. I get some, I give some.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, I
but
think
it's
I gave some busker in Prague. I think it gave him like 10,000 Sats for because he was sitting there noodling on his guitar, and I was like, I just gave that guy a $10,000 tip, man. That's crazy, dude. Like,
hold on. Hopefully he holds it.
I'm like
Hold
one of
it.
these people just like flinging coppers at the poor people. but Christ, man, it
JP
was
Morgan walks out of the central bank and tosses silver coins at
yeah,
the kids selling newspapers.
yeah, at the huddled
Um,
messes. Yeah.
silver coin. The SEC says that they tweeted that meme coins are not securities. Kind of funny.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I guess
The
it.
SEC
How could it be? Yeah. It's certainly not. It's not a
it's kind
security.
of,
There's no enterprise. It's in the expectation of a profit. It's just like we're just spitting this stupid thing out. If you want to gamble on it, go nuts.
I
I'm.
guess.
It's got to be
Yeah.
against some sort of gambling laws, though. I mean, lottery laws and shit like that. Like that.
Yeah. Part of me is kind of like, whatever. I mean, I don't play there. I think it's all kind of it's a big game for some folks and it's gambling for others. And regulation or not, it's just like whatever. I don't play there. But and they dropped their investigations on some big exchanges. Coinbase, Robinhood, OpenSea.
Nice.
So things are changing in the SEC world.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And
there's
then,
about 40 of those people just got fired because they were sitting there jerking off to porn at work all day. So it's
okay.
just these people are just insane, man. I mean, the
Oh
level of
man,
waste, fraud, and just I don't know. Did you see the Joe Rogan Elon Musk conversation?
I haven't. I want to see that. I'm just
Most
curious.
recent
Yeah.
one. Well, I saw a 20-minute clip, and like he's talking to Elon, and Elon's like, "Well, Joe Rogan asked him like, hey, did you expect this much? Did you expect it to be this bad?" He goes, "Well, we expected it to be bad, but we also assumed like they would just be doing just very basic rudimentary things like where did that money go? It went to Peru, whatever, right? A little note and the code thing that he posted about on Twitter. What's the payment code for this and what's the note? Where's the money going?" And they just kind of went, we don't need to do that. And so like the analogy gave would be like he said with Twitter was upside down and broken. He said straight up, right? But at least they could pass an audit, right?
Right.
Like you went in and looked at their books. They go, this is where all the money went. This is why they're losing all this money. Or I mean, I guess it was sort of break even at the time, but this is why this company sucks. Here's the books, and they all jive. He said with the federal government, you go in, they go, none of them can pass an audit. Not a single one of these agencies can pass an audit. They're just,
It's
if you went
unbelievable.
into their books, you just go like, what? How? Nobody would run their personal life that way, but these people
Yeah.
do.
I,
So,
I've seen it again and again, and even recently. I know in inside info on local nonprofits, local county government stuff, local state government, where a lot of people get into these leadership entity creation roles with goals
yeah,
and some money or whatever, grant money or some big, here's a bunch of money and here's a goal.
right,
It's goals instead of systems. These entities fail audit after audit and they're like in trouble, but you can't get rid of them.
right.
You're not gonna close your school. So anyway, I realized like, and I don't know people. So just to not to get political, but just sort of
Let's get political.
to label it. Let's say liberals who have big goals, rainbows and sunshine. We want everything fair. We want all people healthy. Yada yada. All these high-minded goals. Horrible at business.
Right.
So it's like, well, where's this money coming from? Well, we don't know. We just need more. Let's go find more money, more money. Let's do
Yeah.
more money, more of this, whatever it was. It feels good. It's about emotions and feelings. It's the right thing to do. But it's like, well, how are you paying for this?
Yeah.
So at one level, let's say money printed on trees. Is the money there and are you tracking it? And are you reporting on it? Oh yeah, yeah, we have to do that. We failed our last audit. Oh, the next one's next week. Oh shoot.
Right.
Uh, at another level, where is this money coming from?
Right.
Um, I, it's like, and so, in the honestly, from leadership into the staff, what I'll see is it's a money tree. It just comes if we ask and we write a well enough,
Right.
passion letter,
Right.
we'll get money because it's the right thing to do. It's like, yeah, and that's a failure business model. Um, and God, to see it at the federal level, it's just like, where's the money coming from? Well, we got to lift the debt ceiling, which they just did.
Yeah,
Um, we gotta print more. So even as we cut and we cut and we cut, I still that how do we fund all this? I don't know how they keep up with the interest on the debt, really. So it's so
right.
bad.
Oh, it's insane, dude. I mean, and you're absolutely right, dude. Like the way they sort of look at this, like but it's like always somebody has got high-minded ideals and no practical experience with it, you know. And one of the things I've been sort of reflecting on lately is like when I look at the sort of left-wing kind of ideology and the way, that sort of plays out in the world. What I'm more and more realizing is like most of those people are like middle to upper middle class people that are really pushing that. They're really out there protesting and screaming and hooting and hollering and stuff like that. And the thing is, they are very well insulated from the consequences of their shitty ideology, right? Like they don't ever really have to confront like what that looks like, right? Like when they're pushing all this gender ideology and stuff like that, like they don't have to deal with the reality of that. They go, well, it should be fair, and we should just respect all people for whatever they believe and want, and whatever sort of delusions they're operating under. And I can see a point to that, and you kind of go, okay, well, yeah, I guess if someone wants to walk around in a dress, we probably shouldn't beat them up or whatever. But the thing is, you don't; those people don't have to deal with the reality of that. Like when I worked in a prison, like I saw what the reality of that is. You go, well, okay, that's fine and dandy if you're talking about some abstract concept of like whether or not these sort of like esoteric arguments they get into about gender and and its lineage and the history of the word and all this kind of stuff. But that doesn't translate into practicality when you're saying, okay, well, that 6'5" guy, convicted rapist, is now going to be living in a woman's housing unit.
Right.
And I'm not allowed to discriminate against this person because they've passed all the little quizzes and tests. But I mean, their own ideology fails at the core level because they go, well, if someone says, like, this is their mantra. If someone says, hey, I identify as a potato, we have to treat that person as a potato. But when they get down to like the prison level, like where I was operating, they go, well, we're going to have a committee to determine how sincere you are about being a potato. And I go, well, that flies directly in the face of your stated ideology that you are going to make a determination at the prison level of whether or not this person should be allowed to be housed with females or not. So, like, right at a fundamental level, it falls apart. And yet they just can't seem to wrap their head around this. And like, I got into a little tiff with someone because they wanted to house, we had a program that was for males and they wanted to house a transgender female, which, if I understand the whatever convoluted terminology they use, it was a guy transitioning to a girl. And I said, oh, they can't come in. Well, why not? Well, they identify as a girl. Yeah, but they're biologically male. What? I thought that wasn't allowed anymore. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what their biology is. I thought and just watching their faces get screwed up in a little knot of just kind of going like, but how you can't use our logic against
Yeah.
us. It's just
If I'm a screwed up guy who wants to be a predator, there's a lot of incentive to identify as a female and then get real weird.
oh yeah,
And it's like that weird headline that woman arrested for what attempting to bomb Tesla or whatever, and all these headlines about a woman who was going to blow up some Tesla dealership, and the picture just everyone categorically glancing at the headline and the picture of the mugshot, it's like that's that's a dude. Um, since when are women much of a Unabomber?
right.
No, no. It's guys. So it's kind of a weird profile. A woman was going to blow up a dealership, um, but a guy would,
Yeah.
which kind of jives with the mugshot. So it's like, what are we saying here? It's like I identify as this or that. So from here on, whatever. Um, it's upside down world.
Well, it's
I don't know
intentional, right? I mean, like now that we're sort of tracing through this stuff, you go, oh yeah, this is all like it's straight up Marxism. You know what I'm saying? And
exactly.
and it's a Marxist sort of. And I hate using the word plot because I think that gives it too much coherence. I think it's just, but it all ultimately ends up in a power grab. Because if you realize that you can cancel people, and you realize like that's all granting you an enormous amount of power, right? And
Yeah.
for them, I think a lot of it, at least the people that are directing these conversations, they're seeing the power that they're deriving from it more than, like, there's clearly no incentive for the actual stated cause, because they could give a shit about the people that they are claiming to defend, right? It's the power grab that I think is really standing out, and so
Yeah.
I hope
So
we're kind of shredding the last vestiges of this, but we'll see what happens.
yeah. So for systems or people that are in positions of power, yeah, me too, Johnny. And to Johnny's earlier point, I mean, it's wealthy white upper middle class or just very wealthy people who
Can
you'd
afford.
say are in a position of privilege who can afford to have these kinds of concerns that are goals versus systems. And if you're impatient about it and you just want to uh, whether for power and profit or just to reset a system, what's the quick and easy answer? Well, that's communism. You your politics are aligned with central authority, forced equity, I guess, if it's that. But really, it turns into a bunch of wealthy oligarchs that are just in control, and
Yeah.
everyone else does what they're told.
Well,
Um,
what's funny is those wealthy socialists are the first ones to get lined up and shot when the revolution is done. I mean, they're useful idiots, and that you can see it in every communist revolution that happened in history. The useful idiots that came out and said, "Yeah, we should be for whatever thing they're using to gain power at the time." And then as soon as those people gain power, then all the useful idiots get lined up and shot. I mean, they're like, "Oh,
yeah,
thanks for getting us all this power. Now we're going to turn our focus on you because we don't like you either." So, like,
right.
all these sort of like white middle class people that are out screaming about gender ideology and all this kind of stuff, they're the first ones to get lined up against the wall, man. So I don't. I don't even know if they understood that they would continue or not, because they seem so devoted to the delusion, but it's
I
it's
think the game's over. I think it's died, but they're still the vultures are still hovering over this carcass of what was. We're being unburdened by what has been, and I think we're moving on. It's sort of like what crazy, funny, just hilarious to me, hilarious what happened yesterday with Zelensky and Trump and
oh god,
Vance.
dude. I'm surprised
So
at how much division that's created on Twitter.
oh my God. And still kind of like the other side of the story being there's a coup going on, or people saying, like, oh my God, the way they treated Zelensky, it's just abominable. And I'm like, that was hilarious.
Yeah,
One, the deal was done. Putin's people and Trump's people have already talked and had a handshake. It's done.
right,
Zelensky is there to be nice about it. He's being told, hey, it's done.
right,
The war is over. The money laundering, hopefully, I think is shut off or is getting shut off. The rest is just kind of a show. And so it's like, dude, we're done. Zelensky, we're done.
right.
So,
Well, I
uh,
mean, that was the thing, is like, I think it was like Stephen Lubka from Swan had posted, like, "Oh yeah, well, if you watch the whole video, like, there is more context here." Like, and he had made a statement, because we had a brief little interaction, and because I said, "Well, I watched the whole 46-minute thing, and I didn't see anything that materially changed the argument." He goes, "Oh, I disagree completely. Like, there's a lot of things that Zelensky said that I didn't realize before." I go,
mm,
"Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like if you come in the middle of a domestic violence thing, right? Or if you come in the middle of a fist fight, like, people will talk about the most recent harm that they suffered, but they rarely go into detail about all the things that happened before that, right?" So if you're blame casting, like, because Zelensky was saying, well, what sort of, imagine if someone said that about America, like, your enemies have come and killed your people and invaded your country, and you said, well, we need to find diplomacy for this. You go, how would you do that? And I think that resonated with a certain subset of people. Like, yeah, well, I mean, Putin went and invaded, and I go, well, but that ignores all the provocation that came before that, which
poke,
ignores all
poke,
the history.
poke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
NATO, poke, 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 poke.
yeah,
You're
constantly.
poking the bear. We poke, 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 poke the bear. and then the bear attacked us.
Right.
I'm not saying the bear attacking is right. I'm not saying that poking the bear is a smart thing to do. We're
Right.
here now for Trump to reframe it from, well, we got a war, it's just a war,
Right.
to a business deal. Wow. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, if he can, sort of like with Gaza, I mean, that's a different deal. But
Oh, geez.
if you can convert a tragedy and an ongoing, apparently endless thing into, hey, can we, let's make this business. You got, what resources do you have? Whatever, you're going to have to concede here and you're going to have to stop there. Can we all profit off this? Like, I think so.
Yeah.
Now, it's
Well,
not
and
money laundering profit, but
even if you leave the sort of material gains that the U.S. is trying to extract, because the U.S. has already extracted material gains from them, and I don't know why Zelensky wasn't up there screaming and pissing and moaning when Cargill and all these other people were taking the Ukrainian farmland.
yeah, because he's
So
getting paid.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think he's getting any money for this little thing, but
No.
I mean the history of that region, like, and there's diplomatic cables that WikiLeaks put out years ago talking about all these problems, like from the early 2000s. They're going, hey, you're going to get a lot of strong opposition from Europe about expanding NATO into Ukraine. And so it's not like these people weren't aware of all these problems way back then. And now for them to come out and go, oh my God, well, I don't know why, Putin's doing this. And it's like, it's bordering on madness. There's Tucker Carlson was talking to a U.S. diplomat that had been over there for 20 years and was himself befuddled, going, why are you guys doing any of this stuff? And his only theory was like, they just don't think Russia's going to respond. They just don't believe Russia is going to go as far as the United States would in defending its, territorial sovereignty and things like that, and its buffer zones and whatnot. And that's a gamble. That's a huge gamble. Going, this guy probably won't push the button. You go, do you really want to do that? Because if he does, then it's game over for the globe. Like everybody dies, all your little schemes fall apart, everything sucks. So
Mhm.
why would you even tinker with that? Why would you even risk it?
Yeah.
And the
Well,
last
they
they
shot a drone at Chernobyl, and it's just kind of like, yeah, you want more war. So anyway,
Zelensky's laundromat is absolutely running out of quarters. Yeah, but I mean, for me, I was just listening to that whole exchange, and I was just like, the balls on this guy to come into the White House dressed like he's I don't know what he was wearing, like he was going out to a fucking
well,
club.
it's his wartime cosplay, and I mean, I symbolically, I kind of get it. That's the role he's playing in this act, but that story is over. It's over. So
Well, I hope so. Well, I heard, I don't know how much veracity there is to this statement, but they were saying like Trump was talking about just pulling all the military aid out of Ukraine entirely. And I go, oh yeah, do that. Let's see what happens then.
right,
And
yeah,
it's a very, very poignant point. Is like, what happens if we just stop feeding you American tax dollars? Now, all the guys at Lockheed Martin and all those, I mean, for them, this is an opportunity to expand, NATO, like to get another NATO captured market. And it's an opportunity for the military to rotate stock. They go, oh, well, you don't want your missiles sitting around for too long. I want to be sure you put them into use. So they got a lot of benefit. The military side of this, the military industrial side of this, got a lot of benefit from Ukraine. They got to test their weapon systems. They got to see how these things perform in shitty conditions. They got to do it without expending any American lives, and they got to rotate their stock. And at the end of it, all they're going, oh well, we might get another NATO country that we can sell, 5.56 ammo to, and whatever. But conforming that stuff to NATO spec, but at the expense of however many hundreds of thousands of dead kids over there. It's just you have to be pretty inhumane to not appreciate Trump's position here. Like, look, let's stop getting these kids killed. Like, you guys are destroying everything that's good about your countries, and the flower of youth is being trampled in the snow and mud and ice, and for what? I mean, for a NATO expansion that was never going to happen to begin with. So I don't know.
Right. That's not happening.
Oh yeah, Z-Boy
Yeah.
definitely had the sniffles, dude. That guy was looking like Hunter Biden up there, man. Just oh god, I mean, oh god,
Yeah. And Trump alluded to like, okay, yeah, you have no cards. You're not going into NATO. We're testing what World War III here, and
yeah,
you won't stop. You won't say thank you for what we got. You just presume like we're gonna that we won all that. It's like
yeah,
sit down, have a seat, buddy. We're
yeah.
done.
Yeah, which was great. I mean, and so the fact that people were repulsed by that was very, very surprising to me. And watching like the media spin it, and like I was reading some article on the BBC website about like, oh, European crisis because of the U.S.'s stance against Ukraine. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
Yeah,
do you honestly think Vladimir Putin is sitting there going, I know I'm going to become the next guy that's going to try and steamroller Europe? Like, no, he's not, dude. And I mean, so yes, he invaded, and yes, if you just look at that in isolation, you go bad. But that's like your bear analogy. Like that bear just randomly attacked this person just out of the blue,
yeah.
no reason. It
We're
wasn't
not
that
we're not aligned with the bear. You can't trust the bear. I can't trust Putin. Putin could make a deal, and you're like, okay, well, you still gonna like chew on that bear and not attack us again? You can't trust him. But um,
well, you can't trust our side either, dude. I mean,
but yeah.
we've reneged on so many agreements over there. Like they've agreement after agreement after agreement. I mean, they've made promises out in public. We're not going to expand NATO eastward, except for Poland. Oh, we're not going to go any further except for Bulgaria. No, we're not going to go any further except for this country. This country. I mean, they just keep. And if you're sitting on the other side of that, and you go, well, yeah. I mean, after a while, how many times does someone have to kick you in the balls before you go? You promise not to do it this time, right? Yeah, yeah, promise. And
Yeah,
you leave your
losing the
balls
football.
exposed, like sooner or later you got to cover your nuts, right? So,
Yeah,
uh,
not kicking the football.
yeah,
Um, it was just it's amazing to see. It also what that did was it gives an out to the rhinos politically, like Lindsey Graham, like going to Ukraine and we support Ukraine and we want more war and we're going to give you more money and all this war hawk bullshit. And then after that Zelensky thing, Lindsey Graham had an out to say, "Oh, he fucked up, and yeah,
right,
we don't trust him now." And so now they all have an out that sort of is plausible, even as they're so full of shit.
yeah.
But they have their out now.
Yeah, Ben
So
Payne actually made that point. He said, there's a just not a non-zero possibility that they said, come out here, get in a big fight with us. We need to give some cover for all these rhinos that were, pro Ukraine and signing bombs and doing all their stupid shit. Like they need an out so they can vote for us to proceed with this stuff. So
yep,
you're gonna have to come in and take your lumps. And I mean, I suppose it's possible. I don't know. I'm not in the back room. I don't know what these guys are doing. But like Johnny said, the guy was out there campaigning for Kamala. Like, what kind
yeah.
of a fucking baboon campaigns for that numbskull? Could
There
you
was a
imagine? Could you imagine what the world would look like if we had Kamala Harris as president right now? Just up there like, oh my god,
we
dude!
we yeah. I can't even get my mind around that nightmare. There was this funny video of the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S. sitting there like watching,
It's like,
and she's just like, no, no, no,
yeah,
like on the verge of tears probably. And I'm just like, oh, I mean, Zelensky had a meeting with, presumably her and a bunch of these rhinos to prep and like go in with the right messaging. And whether he screwed it up or they can just say he did, it's over. It's over, folks.
yeah, they botched that so bad. But that look that lady had was the exact same look that Anthony Blinken had when Biden was talking. Like, you remember that
Oh,
clip where he was just
yeah.
like, "Oh my god,"
And they're just like,
yeah. I can't
this.
remember what Biden was saying, but someone asked him, like, "Do you think?" It was something where, like, his answer was so preposterously bad for U.S. foreign policy, like it goes against all the messaging the State Department was trying to do, and I mean, I just feel like saying some stupid shit because I'm, half brain dead, and he just spit this thing out, and Blinken, I remember him just holding his head like, "Oh my god." That's our Biden, so
Yeah. 5
it's
minutes ago, we're like, don't say this, don't
yeah.
respond to that. And he goes
Like
out
we
there.
literally said, "Do not utter these words." Yeah, we're willing to put boots on the ground against Russia or something. It was just like, and Blinken was just like, "What are you talking about?" Called Putin a dictator. I can't remember what it was. It was something, but
Every
highly
speech is
inflammatory and yeah.
yeah. Every interaction with the press is followed by damage control, and it's just a nightmare.
Oh, dude. But I mean, could you imagine? Like I said, dude. Like what I've been watching so far, I don't know how every single American can't just be sitting there rejoicing. Like at every step of the way, I'm like, hey, look, someone's actually doing something about all this fraud, all this waste, all this mismanagement. They're trying to get us out of these foreign entanglements. They're trying to do all this like neat constitutional shit. And as Elon pointed out in his interview with Rogan, he said this is the most revolutionary cabinet probably since the first cabinet ever seated. I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. Like, it's popping my brain daily. I'm just like, I never thought I'd see the day where this kind of stuff would be happening, like for
Yeah,
real. We'll see how far it goes. We'll see how like hamstrung they get, or how much they waffle, or how much they just revert back to whatever. But
yeah.
just
I pretty much presume that any president who campaigns when they get into office, they're either going to do not much of that or nothing or the opposite.
yeah,
And so to see everything pushed day by day with the energy and the team involved, it's like this they're actually doing what they said. Like, oh my
yeah.
God. The
This is
worst thing of it all, the worst thing about any of it all was Trump coin. When Trump coin happened, I was like, oh, here we go. It's the opposite. Or
yeah.
it's the casino game they're all playing. Well, it that kind of stands out as an anomaly to me now, where it's like, yeah, they did that Trump coin, but they're doing a bunch of other stuff. So hey, I'll take the good.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly, man. Like, I mean, and that's as you pointed out earlier in the show, like the SEC has now said it's not a security. So it's like, well, if you're dumb enough to buy Beanie Babies, buy Beanie
Yeah,
Babies.
I
Yes,
mean,
like, I don't know what else to tell you, but yeah, just knowing it's a naked hustle right from the jump is kind of like. I mean, it's. I feel bad for like there's some guy blew his brains out because he lost all his money on Trump coin or something like
yeah.
that. It's just like Christ, dude.
You hate to lose good what would have been potential Bitcoiners. Also, it can convert people who had to learn the hard way into Bitcoin. But then again, there's people that are now just captured in the fiat chase. Some will never learn, and I just have to be like, that is what it is. So
Yeah. Well, hey,
anyway,
we're getting on our time here, but I wanted to ask a parting question for you. I just bought a shotgun. It's a 1950s Mossberg. It's a bolt action shotgun of all things, magazine fed. It's crazy, but
wow,
I'm gonna SBS this thing. I'm gonna make a short barrel shotgun out of it. I'm gonna Form One it. So I just signed up with a company that's gonna help me with the Form One process. My
cool.
question to you, sir, is what's the shortest barrel you think I could feasibly get and still have something that I can hit something? What would you guess? Because I'm thinking about an 8-inch barrel. There's a
For
Genesis
accuracy,
12. Well, I mean, I'm not so worried about accuracy because I can barely see past 75 yards anyway. So, but I think a
hmm.
rifle slug coming out of maybe an 8-inch barrel would probably be all right.
At that point, I would just, if you want to go short, it's all a matter of concealment and convenience and maneuverability. And you get to a point where simply, what's the legal limit?
Well,
I'd
I mean,
go,
there is no legal limit if you go Form One. Like, I could have a 2-inch barrel shotgun if I wanted to. It's an NFA
okay,
weapon at that point, right? So it's
well,
like,
then it's a matter of handling, like, where are you gripping it? How are you holding it? What do you expect to shoot? If it's a slug, you might want a second hand up front. And then as long as your forefinger is not getting burned.
yeah. Well, here I'll show you what I was looking at. Like, here's my sort of model for what I think Genesis 12 NFA shotgun. Let me see if I can find this thing.
I like the was it the Remington Shockwave? For me, a pistol grip that's, I mean, a couple few inches in front of my foregrip, it's plenty fine. Beyond that, accuracy wise, is all kind of a wash to me.
Well, here,
Um,
check this out. I'm going to share this screen with you. I hope this doesn't run afoul of some YouTube, God knows what. But this guy right here is Gen 12 from Genesis Arms for the bargain basement price of $5,320.99. You can get this 5-inch barreled 12 gauge shotgun. So I'm thinking
wow,
if they can get away with you know 5-inch
that's
barrel.
cool.
I mean, it's obviously got a can on the end of it, but that's the barrel right there. That's the entirety of the barrel. So if you
Wow.
figure it's a 3-inch shell, you've got literally 2 inches of barrel, and then whatever this thing is. But they've got others like there's another 5-inch barrel, 7-inch barrel, 10-inch barrel. These are all 12 gauge shotguns, by the way. So they call
Wow.
them personal defense weapons or whatever. But yeah,
Magazine.
magazine
Yeah.
fed.
Magazine fed.
Yeah, so kind of cool, kind of fun. But that's sort of my model that I'm kind of working on right now. Except I'm gonna have a little bolt action version of it. So
That's awesome. I have I think it's Russian made, but it's a Sega, which is that kind of magazine fed
oh yeah,
bolt action shotgun.
it's
And
bolt action. I thought that was a semi-auto.
um, I'll have to look at it again. Man, I haven't dug it out of the safe for a long time.
Yeah, because they don't.
No, no, it's semi-auto. It's semi-auto.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Because like
Yeah,
they haven't
it's
made a bolt
semi-auto.
action shotgun here since J.C. Whitney in the Sears catalog. That
Yeah, that's right.
was in the
Yeah, no.
1960s. No, I
Yeah,
guess Savage is making one now, but it's like a bolt action turkey gun is what the
yeah.
Savage is doing. Yeah, but they're apparently pieces of junk.
Yeah, they make I mean, they make 308 and all kinds of caliber, but to have a semi-auto shotgun, I mean, a little more, got to keep it a little cleaner tolerance wise on the magazine fed versus a pipe
Yeah,
tube fed. But I mean, heck, it just runs. It's got AK action. It's an AK 47 style action.
yeah.
So that architecture is really robust.
Oh yeah,
Will work. It'll work dirty.
yeah.
Um,
Snow.
Accuracy, yeah, but with the barrel, on a slug, I'm not sure if it matters as much on accuracy and barrel length. Uh, Shot, buckshot, bird shot, all that, it affects the spread. So longer for distance, little less spread with
Yeah.
distance. But
Well, Kentucky Ballistics, I don't know if you're familiar with that guy. He's got a YouTube channel, pretty popular YouTube channel. He goes around,
hmm,
he's just some big loud mouth. I mean, he's a blast to watch.
look at this.
Yeah,
Hey, look at this.
but he had a Road Warrior shotgun. Like some
Thanks, Johnny.
manufacturer. Yeah, take it easy, Johnny. Have a good one, man. But he had built some sort of it's a company. I think it's Remington that makes it. But it's remember the shotgun that the Road Warrior carried? It's like a little 6-inch
Yeah,
barrel, like double barrel
double
breakdown.
barrel. Yeah,
Yeah, but he was shooting one of those, and like the patterns on those things just open up like crazy. Slugs seem to work fine, but yeah, it was pretty interesting to watch, just like how much that thing patterns at a very short range. So I don't know. I kind of want to keep the patterns a little bit tighter than that, but I'm sort of waffling between an 8-inch barrel and a 10-inch barrel right now. So it's gonna be it'll be fun, man. I'll
yeah.
show you the show once I'm all done. I've heard different things about the Form One process. I've heard they're processing super fast right now. They're taking like 8 or 10 days, which is
Hmm.
insane. And I've seen others that say it can take 6 months to a year. So I don't know, but for the time being, I got my big, Elmer Fudd shotgun sitting in the closet right now. I don't know.
Yeah. It's cool. I tell people kind of like getting off zero. I've had people kind of, or like with exercise, people will get a little bit of analysis paralysis or imagine all the perfect scenarios to get something or whatever. And I'll be like, well, to start with, you can always add later or mix things up later, but what gets you off zero? Well, what caliber, what brand, what size, what shape? It's like, well, what's easy to get off zero? Like what would you carry? So don't care about the caliber, don't care about the perfection, but what would you just start with and carry comfortably and be and not overwhelm you or get too psyched out about. And it's like just start with something, doesn't have to be perfect, and then just get there and then just start to incorporate that system into your life. And
Yeah.
then from there, maybe you decide, oh, okay, I'd actually prefer a little something else. And so then get two. So,
Yeah. Well, that's problematic. I mean, it's $200 just for the tax stamp, and
uh,
then and the thing is, I have to redo the Form One, so I'd have to pay another $200.
yeah,
Like $200 is more than I paid for the shotgun, So it's
nice to do it right the first time.
Well, I have to. I once I pick, I'm set. Like that's how
Yeah.
long my short barrel shotgun is going to be. So that's I don't get to go and tinker with it later on. I don't get to tweak. I suppose I could always say like I could always start put it on the Form 1 as an 8-inch barrel, and then it turned out to be 10 inches. I don't know if they'd shit their pants over that, but I certainly can't go shorter after that point. So I don't know. But seeing the Gen 12 guys running a 5-inch barrel, I'm kind of like, maybe, maybe, maybe I'll have a
Mhm.
little stubby. I mean, it'll look kind of funny, but I think an 8 to 10 inch barrel is kind of the sweet spot for this little
Yeah.
build you make. So
I think
8-inch barrel
I
I
think
have to cut the stock, but 10-inch barrel I can actually leave the stock intact and just have the old wood stock in place and just go from there. So
yeah,
uh,
cool. I think short's good.
yeah, it's gonna be a blast, dude. I can't wait to go shoot this thing.
Yeah. You can toss it in a little scabbard that you can sling over your shoulder, and it's not sticking down below your butt or sticking up above your head. It's just
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
as
that's why I
long as
like
you're
the bolt
machete.
action too. It's like super, I
Mhm.
mean, bolt action is about as reliable as you can get.
Robu-
Firearms.
Robust.
Yeah. So anyway,
Cool. All right.
yeah, let's
Good
wrap it up.
one. Hour and
Yeah.
15 minutes. It's been a good one. We'll catch it next week. And
Thanks everybody for who joined us today. And
a
we'll
week
see
from
you
now,
next week.
we'll be reflecting on another wild week we can expect here. So,
I'm gonna have a super wild week this week. This is it. This is launches
yeah,
this week.
this is
This
the
is the
crux of
final.
business. Business is coming week.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Cool.
Take it easy.
Yeah. Bye.